This is Something's Coming Up, where the purpose is to release, to purge, to reach one, teach one, help one, save one, to stir up what's inside so something's always coming up. I am your host, Kimberly Newton-Nichols. Welcome. Let's continue to push through the pain.
Oftentimes, as a member of a Greek letter organization, we're asked why the adoption of Greek letters when we are in fact African Americans. And that is actually a good question. And the way that I address it, or the way that I've surmised the adoption of Greek letters, is that there was a time in America's history that we as African Americans were unable to attend places of higher learning, university. And when finally allowed to attend such universities, Panhellenic councils in which Greek letters were utilized to socialize and fraternize, for lack of a better word, was utilized by the other students. So in our attempt to pretty much assimilate or to pretty much thrive at these universities, I can surmise that our forefathers or the founding members of our beloved fraternities and sororities adopted the Greek letters in order to, number one, get funding from the university's student services. Number two, to add a level of legitimacy in these institutions of higher learning. And understanding that, Greeks, pretty much, took a lot of what they know in terms of knowledge from the Egyptians. Maybe it was somewhat of a disservice, but one has to understand that the history of African Americans here in the United States is a very complex one. And when you really go to the core of things, we as the Divine Nine are in service to our community, the African American community first. And we are service organizations in addition to being fraternities and sororities. So I understand the concern or the question, but what cannot be questioned is our contribution to the upliftment of our people. Thank you.
So, Sid, I want you to speak as if you're speaking to a young girl who came to you to say, look, I'm interested in going to college. I see you wearing these letters. I don't know what this means, but I'm interested. And I have no one in my family before me who went to college, so I don't know anything about the sorority life. I don't know much about college life. Speak to that person.
So I would always say, do your research. As much as I would want to push my organization, think about who you are and the things that are important to you, and then go and do your research and see all the different sororities and see what values align with your true personality. So okay. I think that's the main thing. As much as I think Delta's the greatest sorority in the world, it's not for everybody, okay. So my first thing to say always is do your research.
If you had someone you were mentoring, a young brother comes to you and says, oh, I heard about you. I inquired and people tell me nothing about positive things. You went to college. Can you kind of lead me in the right direction in what fraternity life means to you?
Okay. Well, what I would tell them is that when you go to a party, nobody's waiting to see what the Kappas, the Alphas, and the Sigmas are doing. They waiting to see what the dogs is doing. No, I'm just playing. But no, seriously.
Welcome to my life.
Our life.
Our life.
Hey, I'm just keeping it 100.
Right.
But to keep it real, because I've had this experience.
Okay.
I've had
all my friends that are Kappas and Alphas, please do not inbox me. It's an open forum. It's freedom of speech.
It's open. Freedom of speech.
It's his heart. It's his passion. Yeah. Continue.
But I've had this experience. I've mentored a lot of young men through coaching, through refereeing, through my walks of life here in New York. And a couple of them have gone on to college. And once again, I gave them the same advice that I gave my kids. And what she just stated. Take a look. Take a look. See what's out there. And then make your decision. Know that I'm an Omega. You know what Omega Psi Phi is all about. Because you've experienced me firsthand.
Right.
And I would not love you any other lesser if you did anything else. But if you do decide to cross the path of Omega Psi Phi, understand that it's going to be something that you have got to want.
Right.
Because one thing about my fraternity is that you got to really prove that you want it. We don't give it away.
Okay.
So I'm just keeping it real. And I say that from experience because, and I'm not going to put it out there, but there was someone, and that individual went to college and was looking to pledge, and for whatever reason decided at that particular time that Omega was not right for him at that time in his life in undergrad. But shortly after graduating, when the time was right for him, he decided to come and wear the purple and gold.
Okay.
And I respect him and I love him that much more because he was honest with me.
Right.
Was I disappointed at that time? Yes, I was. I was very much disappointed that, he chose not to go that route as an undergrad.
You viewed it as him just not doing it, like he wouldn't do it later?
I to be honest with you, he was looking at his heart, it was almost like he was torn. He didn't know whether or not
he was doing his research.
Right, he was still doing it. He wasn't totally in.
Right.
And for me, if you ain't all in, this ain't the route to go.
Right.
You got to be all in. And I have, good friends. When I was in all the Persian rifles, when I pledged Persian rifles, they were Kappas, and they were trying to pull me the Kappa route. And I went and looked, and then I saw the Kappas that were on the campus. No disrespect to them, because they're good dudes.
Right.
I go back to homecoming, and we'll slap it up, but that just wasn't me. I felt, deep down in my heart, that wasn't me. I couldn't see myself dropping a cane and being pretty, because I'm just not pretty. I'm just nasty. So that's why I just didn't pledge to that fraternity.
And to play off of that, I think the most important thing is to do.
How do we follow up after
Okay.
Okay. Wait. Because I had a question, it's gone. I don't even know where my question went.
I knew what I wanted to say, but what I was gonna say was gonna endorse that, and I wasn't trying to do that.
Okay.
Yo.
Well, it got really, really hot in here. Okay.
Anyways.
5, 4, 3. Go ahead.
So I think the most important thing, which I said before, is you have to want it, and what you're about and the things that are important to you is what is going to get you through the process, going through membership intake, whatever it is. So as long as your values, your core values, match up with the values of your respected organization of choice, I think that's the most important thing. Because if you're trying to do something just because you know somebody or your father or your mother, and you're doing it just because of them and you're not really doing it for yourself, you're not gonna love it, and it's not gonna mean as much to you.
More importantly, you're gonna get found out, and it's not gonna be the experience that you want. That's just real talk.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as I know, we keep talking about Virginia State, and I know you explained that the process has changed, because I'm referring to if someone tries to pledge and they don't do it the first round, are they invited to come back and try again another year?
Invited.
Or not necessarily invited, are they able to try again?
Yeah. Well, they have
They can
interest
always
meetings,
apply.
rush. They can
Okay.
apply.
Yeah.
They can
You know.
like that. The way you both said apply, I'm gonna just keep it real. It came across like, yeah, you can try. We didn't want you the first time.
No, but that's
Chances
not.
are-
But
I'm
that's
just-
not true.
I'm not saying.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
just
just
saying
how
the
it's
way
received.
both of you looked at me like, yeah, they could try.
No, but
Okay.
I'm glad you bring that up,
Yeah.
because there have been people who, in respect to that, have maybe for one reason or another, the particular chapter that they are interested in, they didn't meet the cut at that time. There's certain, like Cydney said earlier, there's certain requirements, and maybe you fell short of a requirement. Whether it been academic, whether it been community service, whether it been that you could have fallen short for whatever reason and did not get voted in.
Okay.
So you
And
have
that
to be,
makes-
you have to have tenets or something about you
And that goes back
before
to what
you
said.
become.
You
Yeah.
gotta really want it.
Yeah.
Right.
Just because the first round or that first attempt didn't work, are
Right.
you still hungry for this?
Exactly.
Right.
If it's something you want,
Are you gonna go back and fix or enhance the things that they're looking for that you're
That you didn't meet the first time.
right? Are you
Okay.
gonna truly, yeah.
Right.
Okay, person.
Yes.
So I think that it was stated earlier, you guys were talking about how coming from New York, it's not something that's highlighted.
Then.
But even now, because I have line sisters who are from New York and they didn't really know about Greek life until they got on campus. So I was fortunate enough to have my father who exposed me to that side. But it's still like people don't know. They only know what they see on social media or in movies, like you said. So they only kind of see the bad. Nobody sees this brotherhood or the sisterhood or the networking and the support and everything else. That's not portrayed in the movie. So you're only thinking, oh, whatever, like that it's all bad, and that's not the case.
I find myself, chuckling right now as I hear you talking, because I can recall my mom coming down with me my freshman year, us coming up on campus, and the Omegas stepping, and then one bruh, Big Paul T, who's just cut up,
massive
football player. And we at New Side, we brand, we known for our style of brands, and Paul's brands was just like, and my mother looked like, oh boy, you better never come home with some ting like so in your hand. And I was like, I always remember that. And now, fast forward when I pledged, I can remember coming home, brands are straight fresh. And now I can remember my mom in my ear, and I'm sneaking in the house. I snuck in the house, brands got scabs on them. And I remember I'm sleeping, I'm covered up. I'm covered up. And for whatever reason, I don't know if my brother or my sister, pretty much leaked it to my mom that
Snitched.
they snitched. Snitches get stitches.
Yeah.
But in any other case, I remember them telling my mom come, oh God, what happened to you? And I had to explain to her about my brands. But when we fast forward back then, the only thing we knew about brands was, Spike Lee's movie. Spike.
And I remember your cousins. Kevin. And the male cousins like, yo, this boy done lost his mind. You went where?